Many years ago in the city of Enugu, there lived a young man named Kola. He was a very handsome man with muscular body and deep-toned voice, and he got a mandible jawline that made him stood out in a crowd full of men. Kola was not just good-looking. He was rich, filthy rich. He had numerous houses around the country and a garage full of exotic cars with more cars than even a car lot. Kola lived in a big mansion that had so many rooms in it, and even if he decided to sleep in one room every night, he would still have extra rooms by the end of 1 year. He owned hotels, clubs, shopping malls in every corner of the state. Kola was filthy wealthy, and it was even rumored that he uses money as tissue paper after using the toilet. But despite his wealth, Kola never liked to mingle or party like the other young men. He was an introvert, and he loved staying indoors. He never allowed anyone to get too close, not even his domestic staff. Kola lived alone in his luxury mansion with a very high fence as tall as an Iroko tree. He stays in the mansion all by himself. His domestic staffs and workers were never allowed to spend the night in his mansion no matter what. They would come in around 8 a.m. in the morning and later 5:30 p.m. sharp. They were all gone, leaving Kola alone with his dark secrets. Secrets that could make a grown man collapse in terror. Secrets that could send a child into convulsion, and the secret was hidden behind a certain door inside a certain dark room in his mansion. Kola was quite popular amongst the ladies in Enugu environs. The ladies all threw themselves at him trying to get his attention, for them to be able to have a seat in his life as the madam. But Kola never took any of them serious. He dated a few once, but it didn't went beyond a few months. Kola only went after a specific type of girls. He was a selective type. They were young girls from poor family in a small villages far from Enugu. When the time comes for Kola to get married, he didn't marry any girl from Enugu. He went to a very far small village in Kokori to get a wife. And when he got to the village, he went after a girl whose name was Sonia. Sonia was a 19-year-old girl who had just finished her secondary school education. She was the first child of 5 children her parents gave birth to. And her parents were poor farmers who struggled daily to put food on the table. Kola approached Sonia and her family, and he stated his intentions to marry her. He lavished money on them, and he built a big mansion in the village for Sonia's parents, and he established her father with a big business. He blasted Sonia's family with wealth, the kind they had never experienced in their life before. And that was how Sonia was given to Kola in marriage. No too much questions asked. No too much drama, money stop nonsense. Kola paid Sonia bride price, and their marriage ceremony was the talk of the village. The villagers were envying Sonia for having a rich man who turned her parents wealthy overnight. After the wedding ceremony, Kola brought his young innocent wife to his luxury mansion in the city and gave her the best of everything she needed, from clothes to jewelry. He treated her like a queen. After a few months, Sonia got pregnant and she excitedly told her husband the good news. They both rejoiced. And they both celebrated, but their celebration turned into mourning. Shortly after some few days, Sonia mysteriously met her end in a strange way. She slept one night and she never woke up the next morning with her pregnancy. Kola informed her parents and they all cried and mourned their loss. Oh, what a vibrant girl still in her prime, her dreams and future gone like the wind. Sonia's parents cried bitterly. Kola shed some tears too. But what has happened. And Kola told Sonia's parents that he will bury his deceased wife at the back of his mansion, and they allowed him since he was his husband. No questions asked, nothing. Kola buried his deceased pregnant wife, and so everybody believed that Sonia have been buried, and just like that life went on, Sonia forgotten. 1 year later, Kola decided to remarry. This time, he went to a small village in Maiduguri, and he went after a very beautiful girl named Rebecca. Rebecca was a 19-year-old girl. She was very brilliant with long hair and bright eyes that held so much hope for the future. Rebecca was an orphan who lived with her uncle and her family. She was very hardworking and decent. Every day after school, she would go to the junction to hawk drinks and pure water to support her family. That was where Kola laid his eyes on her, like a predator eyeing his next prey. He approached Rebecca's uncle, and he lavished them with money and gifts, and he asked for Rebecca's hand in marriage. Rebecca never wanted to get married. She had dreams of going to the university and becoming a doctor someday. But dreams don't pay school fees. Money does. Kola promised to sponsor Rebecca on her school education. He promised the family heaven and earth. And the pressure from Rebecca's uncle, who was blinded by wealth, didn't make things any easier for her. Eventually, the uncle agreed for Rebecca to get married to Kola. And just like in the case of Sonia, Kola built a big house for Rebecca's uncle and he established the family with a big supermarket. And they had the biggest wedding ceremony that shook the entire village to its very foundation. After the marriage ceremony, Kola took his wife in his car to the city. And as they left, Rebecca waved her hands in telling her uncle and cousins goodbye, promising to keep in touch. But what they didn't know was that it would be the last time they would ever see Rebecca. When Rebecca arrived at Kola Mansion, it felt like a paradise to her. And there were servants all over the surrounding, and she do call any of the servants anytime she needed their assistance. She ate whatever she wanted. Kola gave her a personal driver to take her anywhere she wanted. She wore the best designer outfits that celebrities wore in movies. Her life was like a dream. Kola was the best husband she could have ever asked God for. And Rebecca was living happily. And she went down on her knees thanking God every day for a husband like Kola. Kola kept his promise to sponsor her through her school studies. He helped her in enrolling at JAM Center, and Rebecca gained admission successfully into the university, and she was studying medicine. Everything seems perfect, her life was moving perfectly, until she got pregnant and calamity before her. Just like in the case of Sonia, Rebecca slept one night, and never woke up. Her life and the new life growing inside her was mysteriously cut short. Her achievements and dreams was terminated. After Rebecca's death, Kola cried. Rebecca's family cried bitterly. And everyone in the city mourned the young girl's death, whose life was cut short by the cold hands of death. After a few days, Kola asked to bury Rebecca's corpse in his mansion. And just like that, Rebecca's uncle allowed him. No questions asked, no drama, no suspicions, just silence. In a few months, the world moved on and Rebecca was forgotten. Exactly 1 year later, Kola remarried. This time he got married to a beautiful Muslim girl from Kaduna. Her name was Aisha. Aisha met the same cruel fate as the other two young girls Kola married before her. That was also the same case with Amoka, a 20-year-old girl from Anambra State, and Jessica, and Fiona. All the young girls met their ends mysteriously. In few months after marrying Kola. In 5 years, 6 girls had lost their lives with their pregnancies in Kola's mansion. Still yet nobody suspected anything. The families of the young girls never asked questions. They just went back to their homes to mourn sadly about their daughter's death. One fateful Saturday, Kola went to a wedding in the city. During the occasion, his eyes landed on a young beautiful girl with full blossom and gorgeous looking, and she was looking sexy and attractive. And she won't be more than 22 years old. Immediately Kola laid her eyes on her, he had already started making plans to marry her. The girl's name was Ifeoma, popularly known as Ife. Ife was a fresh graduate from the University of Benin. She was learning how to do makeup before she goes for a National Youth Service Corps. That weekend, her madam was contacted to do makeup for a bride. Ifeoma followed her madam. After they had finished styling the bride's hair, they were offered a table in the lavish reception hall, and they offered Ife and her madam assorted food. Courtesy of her madam being the bridal makeup artist. That day Ifeoma descended on the plate of food that the caterer served her, and she was enjoying the taste of the delicious meal she hadn't eaten for a long time. And she had not eaten all day. And it was not every day she do see English food like Chinese rice and seafoods to eat. This was a golden opportunity and she took advantage of it. As she was demolishing through her plates of food, she sighted a pair of eyes staring at her. It wasn't a bad stare. It was the kind of stare a man gives to a woman he is interested in. Ifeoma looked up and her eyes met a handsome man dressed richly in white adagba. The man was tall with muscular body that was visible under his adagba, and his smile seems bright and gorgeous. Ifeoma immediately turned her eyes away from the man. She was slightly embarrassed, and she continued eating her food. But this time she was no longer eating like an hungry lioness. She now added a little table manners, since there was an admirer staring at her all through the event. Ifeoma noticed the man's eyes following her everywhere. Ifeoma slightly glanced her eyes towards his direction, and each time their eyes met, her heart would jump. There was something about this man. She was fascinating. By the end of the event, the man walked up to Ifeoma and introduced himself. "Hi, my name is Kola. I couldn't help, but I stare at you all through the event." "Damn, you are beautiful," he said. And Ifeoma blushed very hard. And she seemed speechless while she was smiling gorgeously. And she felt attracted to Kola. And they both exchanged contacts. That was how Ifeoma and Kola started talking. They went out on a few dates, and they started dating. Kola was a dream come true for Ifeoma. Kola was handsome, gentle, generous, and wealthy. He was open like an open book. He told Ifeoma he had been married before, that his former wife died during a pregnancy complication. Ifeoma was touched by his sincerity and she fell in love with him even more. But there was one thing that made Ifeoma decided that he was the only one for her. He never asked for romantic pleasure or sex, unlike the last guy she dated who wanted to be intimate and get into her pants. Kola was different. He never thought of having advantage of her. He never touched her in her intimate place. They never even kissed. All they did was holding hands. And when Ifeoma asked why, he said he was saving himself for their wedding night. This kind of men still exist. This one not full package. Ifeoma couldn't believe that she trapped a responsible man with her beauty. She couldn't stop talking about Kola to her friends, family, and even church members. Kola do visit Ifeoma in her home in Benin regularly. And each time he came to visit, he do lavished Ifeoma parents and siblings with gifts, wrappers, and money. Kola was humble and respectful. And before you know it, he won the heart of Ifeoma family. And after a few months, Ifeoma and Kola got married. And Kola bought a big house and flashy cars for Ifeoma parents, and he upgraded Mama Ifeoma rice business, just like he did for his other 6 late wives' parents. Kola took Ifeoma to his mansion in Enugu. And Ifeoma couldn't believe that she was that lucky to be living in such a paradise. They were domestic staff who did everything in the house. And she had her own personal driver who drove her around the town. Ifeoma never had to lift her hands to do anything in the house. She was served like a princess, and Kola was sweeter than sugar. He was always very attentive to her and caring. He never raised his voice when talking to her. He pampered her with soft care. But after a few months, Ifeoma started to notice some strange patterns. He never let her visit her parents in Benin City, and her parents were not allowed to come and visit too. When she asked why, Kola said he wanted his space, that they just got married and it wasn't time to start having visitors. Ifeoma also noticed that his parents or friends never visited him. They lived in loneliness in the big mansion. Even the staff were not allowed to spend the night. Once it was 6 p.m. sharp, the house would almost be like a graveyard. The whole mansion would be in total silence. It was a graveyard with a weird silence and darkness she couldn't explain. What really had Ifeoma worried was how Kola would disappear most nights into a certain room in the mansion, and remain there for hours, leaving her alone in their bedroom. Fear started creeping into Ifeoma's mind, but she kept assuring herself that nothing was wrong. Months passed and Kola started pressuring Ifeoma to get pregnant. It was understated at first. They just talked about it and Kola was still the sweet man she married. But after 1 year of marriage, she was unable to get pregnant, and Ifeoma started seeing another side of Kola that she had never imagined. He was no longer gentle or sweet to her. He started threatening her to get pregnant or he would end their marriage. Ifeoma became worried. She had tried everything she could, but nothing was working. She had drank all the concoction her mother sent to her in conceiving, but nothing worked. One day she visited a clinic in Enugu for checkup. The doctor ran a series of tests on her, and when the results came in, she was told her body was healthy to carry children. The doctor told Ifeoma to tell her husband to come in for checkup as well. That evening when Ifeoma told Kola what the doctor said, he flared up in anger. "You are the one with the problem, Ifeoma. My late wife got pregnant after a few months of marriage. Maybe you are just barren." He sneered. His words hurt Ifeoma deeply. Ifeoma tried to convince him to follow her to the hospital for checkup, but he refused obviously. "Ifeoma, if by the end of this month, you still don't get pregnant, then this marriage is over between us. I'm running out of time," he said, as he aggressively ranted on Ifeoma. That night, Ifeoma couldn't sleep. She cried bitterly that her marriage was about to end because of her childlessness. The next day, she called her mother and explained everything to her. And they started 1 week dry fasting and prayer for their daughter to bear the fruit of the womb, and Ifeoma prayed and prayed so she could conceive, not knowing she would mysteriously meet her end if God decided to answer her prayers. For the next couple of days, Kola changed completely. He stopped sleeping in the same bedroom with Ifeoma. And he barely spoke to her. It was like she had become a stranger in her own home. Every night, Kola will enter his secret room and lock himself inside all through the night, doing only God knows what. Ifeoma noticed it, but she ignored it, thinking it was probably his home library, where he kept his important business documents and credentials. But as the days passed, Ifeoma started hearing strange noise coming out from the room. It was Kola's voice, talking to who exactly? She had no idea. Ifeoma's curiosity got her worried, and she decided to find out what was in that room that was always locked. The next day, she asked one of the domestic staff, but she said she didn't know what it was, that they were never allowed to go near the door. The woman told Ifeoma that they only started working in the mansion when Kola married her and brought her home. It became clear to Ifeoma that maybe Kola was hiding something. She had ignored the signs for too long. Something was definitely fishy and she was determined to find out what it was. For the next couple of days, Ifeoma started searching for clues of keys. She was looking for the key that she could use in opening that particular door. Then she remembered that her husband always carried a particular key with him wherever he went. He said it was the keys to his fortune. That must be the key. That day Ifeoma went online and researched how to duplicate keys. And she found out that she could use wax to duplicate keys. And she quickly went out to a chemical shop and bought wax and other items. And she went back home pretending like nothing ever happened. That evening, Ifeoma sneaked into the room Kola was staying. She quickly used the wax to get the shape of the key to duplicate it. Meanwhile, Kola was in the bathroom bathing, and she placed the key back carefully from where she picked it up from, and she quickly returned back to her room, and she carried on minding her business, as usual. That night, Kola went into his special room again and spent the whole night there. The next morning, Ifeoma got up and dressed herself, and immediately Kola left the house. She left the house too without her personal driver. She took a taxi to a key fabricator shop that she had found online the previous day. That day she had Kola's special key duplicated. She was ready to uncover all his secrets. When she got home that afternoon, one mind told her to just open the secret room door when Kola was not around and observed around the secret room, but no, she was stubborn. She decided to observe the secret room at night, when Kola was doing his thing in the room. When Kola returned home that night, he never suspected a thing. They had their normal brief conversation, and Ifeoma even shed tears bitterly to convince Kola that she was worried about their childlessness. While her plans were already set in motion, that night, Kola went into the secret room and the noise started just like every night for the past couple of weeks. Ifeoma, who was wide awake, tiptoed to the door. She was determined to see what was inside the secret room, even if it will lead to the end of her marriage. She doesn't really care. She was curious of finding out what was inside the secret room. When Kola was busy doing his thing, Ifeoma opened the door with her duplicate key, and in a second, she busted into the room with a great force. And there it was. Her spirit left her body, and she was terrified, in fear, at the sight she saw. She was shocked. Kola too was caught off guard, and he was shocked that Ifeoma had discovered his secret. Ifeoma stood there still trying to comprehend what was going on. Her husband Kola was making love to an embalmed dead pregnant woman on the bed. She counted 1, 2, 3, 6 women. Pregnant women dead. All covered with white wrapper, and they were carefully laid on the bed. Ifeoma's mouth flew open in terror. When Kola saw that his secret was uncovered, he composed himself, and he walked forward towards Ifeoma quickly. She has seen his darkest secret, so he couldn't let her leave his mansion. He had to take care of her, and shut down her mouth, before she would open her mouth and reveal his dark secrets publicly. Kola tried to grab Ifeoma, but Ifeoma dodged and she ran out of the house. Kola chased after her with all his stamina, but Ifeoma was faster. Ifeoma ran out of their mansion, and she started screaming for help. "Help me! Help me! Somebody help me!" Her screams woke up the neighbors in the estate and caught the attention of the estate security. They all rushed out and saw Ifeoma running away from Kola, shouting for help. Ifeoma ran towards the security guards that were guarding the estate, and she told them that her husband was after her life. "Help me! My husband wants to kill me. My husband is a ritualist," she cried out bitterly. That day Ifeoma told the estate security officers what she saw inside Kola's secret room, and they arrested him, and they went inside Kola's mansion for investigation, and they saw the pregnant women laying there, with their big bellies lifeless. "I have always said that this man is a ritualist. He do marry new wives every year," one of the estate security officers said. Everybody in the surrounding was shocked to their bones. They didn't know Kola was this evil. The neighbors called the police officers, and Kola was handed to the police. And they moved out the dead bodies from the mansion to the mortuary for investigation. Ifeoma, who was trembling in fear, packed her things and ran out of the house in terror. At the police station, Kola sat on the chair with his hands and legs handcuffed, like a criminal. The DPO stared at him with fear in his eyes, and the police DPO began a thorough interrogation and questioning. "Mr. Kola, can you explain why the bodies of 6 women were found in your house? And why were you trying to end your 7th wife's life when she discovered your secret?" Kola stared back at the DPO with a look that sent chills down the DPO's spine. "Officer, I don't have much time left to say much. I will just tell you everything. That woman ruined my life. I shouldn't have married her. She was different from my other wives. She was older and smarter. I shouldn't have married her. Ifeoma was supposed to be the last sacrifice for me to live a long life. You see, years ago, my friends and I went to a very far village to do money rituals. We bought a male cock each and took it there. The native doctor said the number of corn seeds our cock ate was the number of years we will live on earth after the ritual. My friends all got 55 years, 40 years, 62 years. But when it got to my turn, my cock only ate 5 corn seeds, which meant I have only 5 years to enjoy all the wealth I suffered for. The only alternative I got was to sacrifice 7 pregnant women who I traditionally married. I have succeeded in sacrificing 6 women already. Ifeoma was supposed to be the 7th and last. But she couldn't get pregnant and she discovered my secret, and now all my efforts have gone to nothing. The 5 years is up and the spirit would come and collect their payment within any moment from now. Kola said, with a lifeless expression. He knew his time on earth was over already, due to the bargain deal he signed with the devil. He was already a walking dead. The entire police station was shaken to its very foundation. Fear gripped the police officer during Kola's confession. They never believed something like this was even possible. The police kept Kola in prison, and they contacted the family of the deceased to come and claim their children who were victims of Kola cruelty. In a few days, the news had spread like a wildfire all over the city, including on social media platforms, TV, and on radio, and fear gripped people when they heard the news. Kola's parents were shocked to find out that their son was a ritualist. Ifeoma, who was the only survivor, was shaken to her core when she heard Kola's confession. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't eat. She ran back to her parents in Benin City, and she started attending her parents' church regularly for immediate deliverance and cleansing. On the 7th day after Kola had been arrested, the police found him dead inside the prison, just like he had said, and his stomach was swollen like a pregnant woman, and red liquid was oozing out from his nose, eyes, and ears. And he was lying down lifeless at the prison floor. And he was taken out of the prison, and he was buried in a mass grave where they buried criminals. And the news of Kola's death reached the entire Enugu like a wind flew. The entire city was quiet for days. Even children did not cry. Everything stood still in terror. Parents feared for their daughters. Daughters feared for their life. And they all learned a great lesson that could never be forgotten in years and years to come. Thank you for watching. Hi lovelies. What is the morals have you comprehend from this story? The moral of this story is that we should always be cautious and careful out there. It's not all that glitters is gold. When a man comes to ask for your hand in marriage, it is good to ask questions. Find out more about him. Know him very well before you say yes to his proposal. When a man comes to marry your daughter, find out about him. Pray and fast about it, and know what you're getting yourself into before you even begin. The world is full of heartless people. Share this video with your family and loved ones to learn and acquire more knowledge. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so by now. Stay safe until I bring another interesting story in your way again. Bye for now. Have a blessed day.